17th of April 2018. It's the usual plenary session of the 8th Senate. A federal lawmaker informs the chamber of an alleged case of extra budgetary spending. The upper chamber is swift in demanding for answers.
I have it in good authority, Mr. President, that in March 2018, from the federal account, a whopping sum of $462 million was withdrawn and paid for helicopters to an American firm called Helicopter Techno Fight Helicopters. And this without the approval of the National Assembly. I've been in the Senate, Mr. President, and I know there was no time, there was any request from this Senate for any such withdrawal from the constituted fund, from the account fund of the Federation. I therefore, Mr. President, as a citizen senator of this place, I want to find out how this thing was done. So I will request and suggest that we invite the CBN governor, the Minister for Finance, and of course, Minister for Defense, to tell us how this money was withdrawn and paid to an American company, a whopping sum of $462 million, without the approval of this Senate.
The National Assembly has always frowned at government agencies spending funds without appropriation by the Parliament.
I think probably we refer this to the Appropriation Committee to find out. So those in support that this matter be referred to Appropriation Committee to report back in 1 week, say aye. Aye. Those against saying nay. The ayes have it. So the Appropriation Committee should invite the three of them, the Minister of Finance, CBN Governor, and the Minister of Defense.
Of the country. The matter is also raised in the House of Representatives by a lawmaker citing breach of rights and privilege.
We are in the know, Mr. Speaker, that the federal government has spent $460 million in payment to companies in the United States of America for the supply of military equipment without appropriation from this parliament.
No house.
The Speaker of the House, Yakubu Dogara, immediately refers the matter to the appropriate committees.
Any money withdrawn from any account of the government, not in line with the provision of the Constitution or not subject to appropriation, is as good as money stolen from the system. And if the allegation is true, then it means there's a very grievous allegation. The referral now is to board ethics and privileges and Committee on Finance on that motion, but it's not for investigative purpose because there's no resolution on it.
The House of Representatives did not, however, give the committees a time frame within which to conclude the investigation and report to the House. However, the Senate summons the Minister of Defense, Mansour Dan Ali, the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, and the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, to explain the release of $462 million for the purchase of helicopters by the executive without the National Assembly appropriation. A week later, lawmakers in the House of Representatives convene over the issue. After a closed-door meeting that lasted over 2 hours, the Speaker reads a letter from the President on his approval of $496 million for the purchase of helicopters from the United States of America.
In the expectation that the National Assembly would have no objection to the purchase of these highly specialized aircraft, which is critical to national security, granted anticipatory approval for the release of $496,374,470 US.
A point of order is raised describing the President's action as impeachable. This receives strong support from other lawmakers.
A constitutional infraction as serious as expenditure without the National Assembly clearly runs foul of this Constitution and is an impeachable offense.
What is wrong is wrong. You cannot approbate and reprobate. If it is wrong for members of this parliament to have an input in the legislative process of spending money, then it is our legislative duties to do so. Other than that, I join my voice with my other colleagues here that have moved the motion for an impeachable offense, and I so second.
The chairman of Rules and Business, raises another point of order, and this metamorphoses into a rowdy session.
A letter of this nature constitutes first reading. It is first reading. I mean, solid arguments from Honorable Chinda, but it's like putting the cart before the horse. The truth of the matter is that second reading will have the opportunity to strike this down.
Order, please.
He brought a letter here today that he withdrew $452 million Nigerian money without approval of Parliament, and somebody is quoting our order. Which order? The best thing we should do now is that, having said whatever we have said, keep our gunpowder dry and be ready when this matter will be properly slated before us.
Second, the motion for adjournment as moved by the...
So we have a procedure. All we can do...
The lawmakers accuse the president of undermining the powers of the parliament, describing the president as an afterthought since the expenditure had already been made. President Muhammadu Buhari explains that the purchase of the military helicopters was made without request for approval from the National Assembly due to the temporary open window given by the United States for the purchase of the aircraft. The acquisition of 12 Super Tucano fighter jets from the U.S. awaiting delivery in 2020 is said will be used by the Nigerian Air Force in the ongoing military operations against Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast.
We have been battling with approval from America to buy this equipment since 2014. We have been begging Americans to sell these equipments for us. We tried Dubai. They could not allow because it's patented. We try, I think there is a factory in one of the, I think it's in Brazil. The federal government tried, we couldn't get. The Americans still couldn't sell to Nigeria. Then luckily, the president said it's okay to buy. That's President Trump. So we have to quickly buy before they change their mind. Because there is also a deadline, and this is state-to-state transaction, no middleman. And we are all here concerned about security. And they're raising questions on how and manner on which you protect people. This is an emergency situation. So this thing has to be understood clearly and look at the whole situation in the fuller perspective, not a narrow perspective. The president did what he has to do to protect his people, and that is what happened. And you know, something might just happen and then the Americans will say, no, stop. But we have paid now, they will have to supply.